We learned about imports and exports. Another core feature of next generation JavaScript are classes. If you're coming from some other programming language, you might already know classes. Classes are essentially blueprints for objects, in our case here for JavaScript objects. A class is created with the class keyword, and a class can have both properties and methods. Methods are simply functions attached to classes, where properties are variables attached to classes, you could say. We'll use both in this course, and I will obviously always explain what we're doing here when we add such a property or method. A class is instantiated like this with the new keyword. And this might of course look familiar to you if you worked a bit with JavaScript. You might know this from constructor functions. And indeed, classes are kind of a more convenient way of creating constructor functions. So you create JavaScript objects with classes as blueprints. That's the idea. And classes also support inheritance, which means you have another class which you inherit from, taking all its properties and methods and potentially adding new properties and methods. That also might look familiar to you. You might know this from prototypes. Let's have a look at classes in action then. Let's create a new class here. I'll name it person, just like this. Then you have curly braces to mark the class body. And now there we can start using properties. Now in its simplest form, a property is added by adding a constructor. That is a default function method you can add to any class, which will be executed whenever you instantiate the class. And the method is created just with the name of the method, parentheses, and then curly braces. And in there we can now set up properties with the this keyword, and we could write this name equals max, for example. We can now also add a method, print my name, and there we could simply output this name, referring to the name property we created. Now we can use this class to store an instance in a constant with new person, and then we can execute person print my name. If we now hit run, we see max. This is how easy we can use a class. Now I said that classes can also inherit. So what we can do is we can create another class, human, and there we might also add a constructor to set this gender equal to male or female, of course, if you want, by default, whatever you want. And there we could add print gender and then output console log this gender. And now if person extends, and that's a keyword again, extends human, now we inherit this property and this method, print gender, and we can use both on the person as well. So we can also call person print gender like that. However, before we run this successfully, or actually let's try it, we'll get an error that we must call the super constructor in the derived class. And that's important. If you are extending another class and you are implementing the constructor, which you don't have to, but if you are, then you have to add super, this special super method in the constructor. It's a keyword and it simply executes the parent constructor too, which you of course have to correctly initialize the parent class. So now if you hit clear and run, you see max and male. And obviously you could now go into your person class and still set gender there to female, which is not 100% correct here, but just to showcase that this works, now you see we print female, even though we're still calling print gender here, but it is extended by person. So these are classes, and classes are used by React to create its components. At least this is one of the two ways of creating components. This is how you will see me use it in this course, and it's important to understand that classes are just blueprints for JavaScript objects and are very comparable to constructor functions, where inheritance is comparable to prototypes.